Good morning, afternoon, boys and girls. Sorry I'm not in again today, but I wanted to continue with our Module 4. This is page 71. So we are working on representing or replacing the letters in our expressions with numbers to be able to evaluate them. So I'd put up here, a letter represents one number in an expression. And we're mainly going to be working with area. And if you remember, the formula for area is area equals length times width. So the L is a variable for the length, the W is a variable for the width. An area in a square like this, all you need to do is count the square units. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Excuse me. So the area of this square, area equals 9 square units, or 9 units squared. Now we're using the word units because we don't know if these are centimeters, inches, yards, feet. We don't know what they're representing because there's no measurement given. In that case, you use the word units. Okay? And units squared is the same thing as if we have 3 times 3 is 3 squared. Units times units is units squared. So for this one, it's 9 square units. Down below, we have another square. And this square has 23 as its width. So I'm not going to draw lots of lines so we could count 23 on this side. Since it's a square, its other measurement is 23. So instead, for this one, we are just going to use a calculator because, again, area equals length times width. Well, in this case, the length is 23 and the width is also 23. So you can use your calculator and do 23 times 23, and you will get the area equals 529 centimeters squared. Now we have a measurement. We have centimeters, so it will be centimeters squared. So again, we had numbers. We replaced the length and the width with the numbers. Let's go to page 72. Example 1 says complete the table for both squares. Note these drawings are not to scale. So we'll start with this. Notice there's no units given here. There's no measurement, so it's just 4 units. So the letter S equals 4. Okay, so the letter S stands for side. So a side is 4. So length of one side of the square, we would write 4 units. Square's area written as an expression, 4 units times 4 units. Square's area written as a number, well, you would do 4 times 4, and you would get 16 units squared. All right, so try it for the next one. You can pause the video if you want for a second. I'd like you to try to fill this one out on your own for the square that is 25 inches on one side. Okay, so length of one side of that square is 25 inches. Square's area written as an expression would be 25 inches times 25 inches. Square's area written as a number, I'm going to use my calculator and do 25 times 25. And that would equal 625 inches squared, or square inches. Hopefully you all got the same answers I did. Now let's go down here to example 2. And it says, what does the letter B represent in this blue triangle? It's not blue in our workbook, but what does the letter B represent? So we have the letter B here, and you should be able to see that it is equal to 8 centimeters. So the letter B represents the width of the rectangle, and it represents B equals 8 centimeters. Okay. Now, if we look at this rectangle, so you know it's an identical rectangle, and we want to find out what X represents here, we need to look at this triangle is split into 4 pieces, and one equal part is 4 centimeters. And the X represents 2 equal parts. So if each of these is 4 centimeters, X equals 2 of those. So X equals 8 centimeters. So how could we find the answer, the area for this rectangle? We know that the area equals length times width. So we know now that the length is 4 times 4, which is 16, and the width is 8. So again, you can use your calculator and do 16 times 8, and it would equal 128 centimeters squared. Okay, on to page 73. And don't worry, we just did all of this talking out loud. So let's just look at this chart down here on the bottom. Let me zoom in. So it says complete the table for both rectangles. Note these drawings are not to scale. Using a calculator is appropriate. So again, we're going to do the first rectangle, then the second rectangle. Now, since it's a rectangle, the sides are not equal, just like the other one, not like a square. Okay, but since it's area, it's still square units because the area is the inside of something and it's measured in square units, not the perimeter, which would be the outside, as if you're putting a fence around it. So let's see the length of our first rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You would write 7 units. And the width, 1, 2, 3, 4, would be 4 units. And the rectangle's area written as an expression. 7 units times 4 units. And then the area's rectangle written as a number. 7 times 4, you can do that without a calculator. 28 units squared. Now the second one, you're going to use a calculator. I'm going to use a calculator. So the length is 46 meters. The width is 32 meters. And we would write 46 meters times 32 meters as our expression. Then to write it as a number, we need to do the math. So you're going to do 46 times 32. And we will get 1,472 meters squared. So basically, this is just to make sure you know units are the same thing as the other measurements when you need to square them. You need to make sure you include your measurements when you're writing your expression and when you're figuring out your area. Now we're not going to do the other two things, but what you need to do to turn in now, and it's in Teams on page, let me zoom out a little bit more. On page 81, you have the problem set. All right, so you have to replace the side length here with a 4, so S will equal 4. And then you have to complete the table just like we did on the other page. And then find the perimeter. Remember, the perimeter, you are adding up the sides. You are doing length plus width plus width. Okay, you're adding the sides. And then use this formula for volume. Replace the letters with the numbers, multiply, and get the volume. Remember, the volume is how much is inside a whole container. All right, so do these 4 problems and turn it in on Teams. And I will see you tomorrow for our 10-minute meets for our PLC day. All right, have a great day.